So I always like to say this, good morning Redbourn. Those of you that have seen the wonderful film Good Morning Vietnam all those years ago with Robin Williams, I think, I've always wanted to say good morning, well, Vietnam, but Redbourne's even better. So good morning Redbourn, welcome to another weekly call. My name's Simon Vegro from Active in Redbourn, and Active in Redbourn exists to help make our lovely village the healthiest in Hertfordshire, and indeed one day the world. We're aiming high. These calls take place, for those who haven't dialed in before, every Wednesday at 11 for about half an hour, and are free to everybody. And that's thanks to the wonderful generosity of Jan Brown, who lives on the High Street. So again, Jan, I don't know whether you're listening in today, but thank you so much. Your generosity is really, really appreciated. It's wonderful of you. If you enjoy these calls, anybody listening in, please can you spread the word and tell your friends and put it on social media, all those sorts of things. And also, don't be shy about giving us feedback or suggesting people you'd like to hear from. Obviously, we've had a wonderful range of guests so far. We've got some wonderful ones today as well. But if there's people that you'd like to hear from, you haven't heard from before, or questions you'd like to ask, or just thoughts or comments or feedback, please let us know. And to do that, I ought to tell you what our website is, actually, which I think I've forgotten to do on previous occasions. So it's simply www.activeinredbourn.co.uk. That's www.activeinredbourn.co.uk. And if you want to email us and get hold of us, it's simply an email to info@activeinredbourn.co.uk. So info@activeinredbourn.co.uk. That's how you can get hold of us. Now, from past experience, we're putting everybody on mute today, so we can make as much noise as you like. We've had some dogs barking, people telling us the calls are boring, all sorts of funny things going on in the background before, but it actually has been quite off-putting for some of the speakers. So today, everyone's on mute. If we have a chance to do any Q&A at the end, I can obviously unmute people, and then we can see how it goes. So feel free to make as much noise as you like, because no one can hear you. So I'm very excited about today's call. We're going to start with a sketch from the marvellous Redbourn players, which I'm just absolutely delighted, and I don't want to pump it up too much, but I'm so excited what they're going to do. And then we have Will Gibbs, who I'm not sure he's joined us yet, but hopefully he'll be able to join in a minute and give us his thought for the week. And following that, we're going to finish with a chat with our local optician, Karan Malik, about how a small business that performs a vital service in the village has been coping with the lockdown. So I'm going to start with the Redbourn players. So good morning, team.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, how are you all?
We're very well, thank you. Looking forward to this.
Very well. No, we're very pleased to be asked to do this. It's good to be part of what is a very good initiative.
Lovely, lovely. Well, thanks, guys. So listen, before you do your little sketch, can you tell us what you've been up to and sort of how you've been carrying on, if that's the right term, during the lockdown?
Yeah, well, it's been very different, because obviously we were unable to do our scheduled performance in May, and in fact it's going to be a difficult time going forward, because we're unable really to do anything while social distance remains, so we cannot really consider rehearsing, and even at this stage theatres look like they're going to be the last thing to go back, and even December is looking a little bit uncertain. But what we've had to do is obviously adapt to a new situation and think of different ways that we can put on performances for our audience. And we recently took the plunge and recorded and posted 2 videos on Facebook, actually on the dates of the original performances, just so that we could do something for the local community in some way, and put ourselves out there. And it's a great opportunity, obviously, to be able to do this as well, which is another new experience for us. Doing something over the phone, because we're used to being able to see our audience on.
Yes, absolutely. And you get that sort of feedback and everything, don't you?
Yeah, sitting in a room, filming yourself on an iPad with nobody else there, and is unusual. And obviously here, we're all sitting at home on a phone, and it's just it's great to be able to do something different and adapt to obviously a completely different environment.
Lovely. So what sort of plans have you got, before we come on to our little sketches in a minute? What plans have you got for the future? How are you? So are you planning more of these Facebook events, and what sort of productions might they be?
Well, now that we've sort of dipped our toe in the water, there is a possibility, yes, that we can think how further we can take this. But the problem is that we can do nothing as a group, and that really is the problem. This is why something like a phone-in or radio, where we can connect several phones, gives us an opportunity to do something a bit more dramatic, because we can involve more people. But as far as December goes, I mean, I can definitely assure everyone out there that we will be doing something. We will certainly be doing some form of performance, but obviously at the moment that's going to be really dictated by the amount of time that we have to rehearse it.
Yes, and as you say, it does look, doesn't it, increasingly like theatres, because of the very nature of what they are, will be one of the last things to come out of lockdown, which is a great pity, but obviously completely understandable.
Yeah, I think the problem is that it's just it's not viable to put on a performance when the village hall is 20% full.
Yeah,
That's just not the same. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, well, I'm delighted anyway that you've managed to get yourself in gear for this morning's sketch. So if it's okay with you guys, I'd now like to hand over to you and everybody out there listening. We're going to have a wonderful sketch from the Redbourn players. So is that okay? Is that okay to tee it up, guys, and just say over to you?
Yes, absolutely. Right, well,
the floor is yours.
As this is a phone-in, we thought we would do something that harked back to the golden days of radio comedy. The days before television, when radio was the only form of broadcast entertainment, and the nation sat around the wireless eagerly awaiting half an hour of comedy to escape the hardship and drudgery of post-war Britain. Now, whether we will have the same effect over the phone in Redbourn during lockdown, I don't know, but we'll give it a go. Now, one of the most popular radio shows in the 1950s was Hancock's Half Hour, and probably the most famous of these episodes was The Blood Donor. And we thought we would do an excerpt from that, which is particularly apt at this time, as it's set in a hospital with an underlying message stressing the importance of rallying around the NHS and supporting their vital work in saving lives and making a real and lasting difference. So, without more ado, we present The Blood Donor.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm coming after your advert on the wall next to the Eagle Laundry in Pelham Road. There's a nurse pointing at you, with a moustache and beard penciled in, saying, blood can save your life.
Oh, I see. You wish to become a blood donor.
I've been thinking about it for a long time, doing something for the benefit of the country as a whole. What should it be, I thought? Become a blood donor or join the Young Conservatives? But if I'm not looking for a wife and I can't play table tennis, here I am.
And what is your name?
Hancock. Anthony Hancock. Twice candidate for the county council elections, defeated, and honorary secretary of the British Legion Earl Court branch.
Thank you. Nationality?
Well, you've got nothing to worry about there. It's the blood you're worried about, isn't it? Yes, British. Undiluted for 12 generations. 100% Anglo-Saxon, with perhaps just a dash of Viking. There's aristocracy in there, you know. Anyone who gets any of this will have nothing to complain about.
Have you given blood before?
Given? No. Spilt? Yes. There's a good few drops about on the battlefields of Europe, I can tell you.
So you've never been a blood donor before?
No. But help others, that's my motto. I contribute to every flag day going. The lapels of my suits are always the first to go. Full of holes they are.
Well, the doctor will call you when he's ready.
Of course. It's a vocation, nursing. I've always said that. One of the highest callings a person can aspire to. And it's certainly not the money, is it? Strange the different values we place on society. There's models dragging a bit of fur along a platform for 50 quid a week. And then there's you lot, dedicated, 3 years of training, helping the sick and infirm. It's not right.
The doctor is ready for you now.
What? Right now? I'm sure there must be someone in front of me. I'm in no hurry, if anyone wants to go first.
There isn't anyone else, Mr. Hancock. You are the last one.
Right. Well, this is it then. Here we go. Over the top, as they say. What's he like on the needle, this bloke? Steady hand?
Dr. Bradshaw is an excellent doctor. There's nothing to worry about. Dr. Bradshaw, this is Mr. Hancock.
Come in. Would you mind sitting there, Mr. Hancock? Now, this won't hurt. You'll just feel a little prick on the end of your finger. There, that's got it.
Is that it? Well, in that case, I will bid you good day. Thank you very much. And whenever you want any more, don't hesitate to get in touch.
But where are you going?
Oh, to have my tea and biscuits.
But that was just a small sample to test.
Well, it might be just a small sample to you, mate, but it's life and death to some poor wretch. How much do you want then?
Well, a pint, of course.
A pint? Have you gone raving mad?
Well, a pint is a perfectly normal quantity to take.
You don't seriously expect me to believe that? I came here in all good faith to help my country. Now, I don't mind giving a reasonable amount, but a pint? Why, that's nearly an armful. I'm not walking around with an empty arm for anybody.
Well, a normal, healthy individual can give a pint of blood without any ill effects whatsoever. You do have 8 pints, you know.
Well, if I've got 8 pints, I obviously need 8 pints, and not 7 as I will have by the time you finish with me. No, I'm sorry, I've been misinformed. I'll do something else. I'll become a traffic warden.
Oh, well, that's a great shame, as you are AB negative.
Is that bad?
Oh, no, you're rhesus negative.
Rhesus? Well, they're monkeys, aren't they? How dare you? I mean, what are you implying? I didn't come here to be insulted.
Mr. Hancock, that is your blood group. AB negative is one of the rarest blood groups there is.
Well, in that case, that shows a completely different complexion on the matter. I mean, if I'm one of the few sources, I wouldn't want to hog it all. We rhesus negatives must stick together. A minority group like us. Well, if you're sure there'll be no ill effects, I'll do it. Line up now, tea and biscuits.
Roll up your sleeve, please. Now, this won't hurt.
Oh dear, Doctor. He seems to have fainted.
Hello? South London Hospital. Dr. Bradshaw, please. Blood donor department. Hello, Doctor. Hancock here. Yes, it's me again. I was wondering if you'd used my blood yet. Well, you've had it 24 hours now. You said it was rare. I mean, surely someone must be after it. Well, of course it's got something to do with me. It's my blood, isn't it? You can't expect me to lose interest in it just because you've got it. Oh, yeah. I want to make sure it goes to the right sort of person. Well, really? I never thought I'd hear that sort of language from a doctor. Well, good day to you. Right, I'll thank for your sandwich. Now, where did I leave that bread knife?
7922 44. All right, thank you, Sandra. Quickly, Doctor, this man needs help. His landlady found him. He cut himself with a bread knife and fainted.
Lost a lot of blood, I see. I had to give him a transfusion.
He had his blood donor's card. He's group AB negative.
Oh, really? That's very rare. Have we got any?
I've checked, and we've got just 1 pint in stock.
Oh, good. Go and get it, will you, nurse? You're going to be all right, old man. We're going to give you a transfusion. You're lucky we have 1 pint of your group left in stock. Oh, it's you. So, a waste of time, was it?
Well, I'd have been in a right state if I hadn't given it. There's nothing else here you can give me. At least I know it's going to the right sort of person. You know, these blood banks are just like ordinary banks, aren't they? Put it in when you flush, draw it out when you need it. Well, come on then. Bang it in. I'm getting dizzy. I'll let you have it back later on. Do you get tea and biscuits after getting blood as well?
And there you have it. Hancock's half hour in 7 minutes.
That was great, guys. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Nice.
And how did it? I mean, really. I hope you. I was giggling a couple of times. Oh God, I'm not on mute. I hope you didn't. I hope my giggling didn't put you off.
Well, we had a dog bark.
But his dog enjoyed it.
Yeah. I don't know how we heard the dog barking with everybody on mute, but obviously somebody's got a nice dog that's got into the system. So anyway, I hope it didn't put you off too much.
No,
Not at all. It was fine.
Well,
I
anyway,
hope we put you off too much.
No, that was really good. So I hope we can get you on again, guys, at some point. Would be really, really good if we can.
Yes, we'd love to.
Well, I'm sure that's possible, yeah.
Very, and obviously look forward to the productions that you do in the future. Now, just before we move on to the next bit, how do we find out? How do people in the village find out about what's going on with you? Have you got a website or a Facebook page or?
We have a Facebook.
We've got both.
Sorry, we're talking over each other. Yeah, we have a Facebook page, Simon, and we post all updates and information of what we're doing on that.
Oh, lovely, lovely. I'm new to Facebook.
Around. We're also
Can
in
you say that again, hello?
Hello?
Hi, sorry, did you say you're in the common round?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so it's another source of information, people.
Yes.
Oh, super. Well, that was really, really good. Thank you so much. It's really, really funny and a great sketch, isn't it? It's just a really, really good sketch. And it reminded me how funny Tony Hancock was. He was an absolute master, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was indeed, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Yeah, it was. He was. So thank you very much, guys. I'm now going to move on to, I'm just going to see if Will's managed to dial in yet to have the thought for the week. Will, are you out there?
Yes, I am, Simon.
Oh, morning, Will.
And
how are you?
apologies, my dog as well. So
Oh,
he's
it was
been
your
banished
dog.
to the garden, so
Oh.
I do apologise to everyone, and especially to the performers. He's down the bottom of the garden, so we shouldn't hear from him again.
Oh, dear. Oh, I hope he's not feeling too sorry for himself.
It doesn't deserve to be.
Okay. Well, Will, thanks ever so much for dialing in again. So like we said last week, we've got a regular slot with you now with the thought for the week. So if it's okay, can I just hand straight over to you and you can tell us what your thought for the week is?
My pleasure. Great to be with you again. When I was training for ministry many moons ago, it was rightly felt that most trainee vicars had little experience of inner city ministry. So I and 5 others were sent off to live in Sheffield on placement for 6 months. It was an amazing experience and I learnt a lot. I was living in a pretty grotty flat above a charity shop on the Tough Manor estate, working with a local church and on placement at a school. And I got to know and love the city of Sheffield. Like Rome, it is built on 7 hills, and that's probably where the similarity ends. I liked the people, very immediate, and they told you straight how things were. It's always been said you can tell a Yorkshireman, but you can't tell him much. Well, joking aside, they taught me a lot, and I look back with many fond memories. One of the lovely bonuses was on my day off getting to explore a whole area of the country I didn't know. I loved the Peak District and some of the famous towns and villages. And it's one of those villages I want to talk about briefly this morning. It's Eyam, spelt E-Y-A-M, and it's 5 miles from Bakewell, and with a population today of around 1,000. The beautiful stone cottage facades, quaint church and winding lanes are all charming, but they hide a secret. This village has a fascinating story to tell because it was a plague village. In 1665, the local tailor had a bale of cloth sent up from London. His assistant noticed that it smelled damp and foul, and so unwrapped it and put it before a fire to dry out. The cloth was in fact infested with fleas carrying the bubonic plague, which were activated by the warming. Within a week, the assistant was dead, followed by members of his household, and then the tailor himself. Realizing that they had a real problem on their hands, the vicar and his predecessor who lived nearby came up with a plan. If the plague was to be contained, then they needed to shut the village from all outside contact. In doing so, they knew it meant that many in their community might die, but the plague wouldn't spread to nearby Sheffield and other towns and villages. And for over a year, that is what they did. They enclosed the village, relying on food being left on posts at the parish boundary, with payments made with coins left in pots of vinegar to avoid the spread. The church and the churchyard were closed, and gatherings limited, and everyone kept at a distance, long before the term social distancing was heard of. The plague ran its course over 14 months, and one account states that it killed at least 260 villagers, with only 83 surviving out of a population of around 350. The church in Eam has a record of 273 individuals who were victims of that plague. It is a fascinating story with some similarities and some key differences to our own situation today. Now, there's an old Chinese proverb that says, if you don't know where you've come from, then you're not safe to travel. In other words, if we understand the past, we might make better sense of the present. For Eam, the infection was in their midst. For us, we want to keep it out of our village of Redbourn. But in both cases, it is by limiting contact, caring for each other, a strong community response, and patience and determination that this will be defeated. Eam had to endure this for 14 months. Let's hope it isn't that long for us. But at a time when there is much debate about when and how lockdown should be eased, and some notable breaches of the rules nationally and locally, the people of Eam, I think, teach us to be patient and determined. We will get through this, and we will defeat this. So inspired by the people of Eam, stay strong, determined and patient this week, and may God keep us safe and well.
Thank you, Will. As always, that's a really powerful and good message, and a really interesting story too, isn't it, about how they took it upon themselves to protect everybody else, even though it was increasing their own risk.
Absolutely.
A wonderful act of selflessness.
Absolutely, that sort of sense of duty and purpose and a united response, really amazing story that sort of speaks to some of our experience today, I think.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us, Will, and we look forward to hearing you again next week if you're free.
My pleasure and privilege. Thanks, Simon.
Thank you. Thank you. So the final part today, Karan, Malik, who runs the Redbourn Eye Care. Karan, are you still out there?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, I'm sorry. Thank you for being so patient. It's really good of you to dial in today, and obviously a completely different perspective now from someone who is running a local business on our lovely high street. So first thing I want to ask you is, you come from Toronto to Redbourn. There's a bit of a difference there, Karan. How did that come about, and how did you end up in this lovely village?
Firstly, thank you. I'm honored to have been invited to take part in this call. I hope everyone listening in is keeping in high spirits. Toronto to Redbourn, the journey started about 13 years ago when I decided to move to the UK for some international exposure and further my training. In the process, I met someone, we got married, and then what we did was we decided to look for a place in the community where people were traveling for eye care and it wasn't imminently available. At the same time, we were also looking for a place to settle down in so that one day we can start a family. And the pieces of the puzzle just fell together, and us moving into Redbourn 3 years ago happened, and we've never looked back. The best decision we've made.
Super, I'm pleased you like it. So I think I said to you before that my sister lives in Toronto. I've been there loads of times. I think it's a wonderful city. Obviously very different to Redbourn, not least in scale. I've got to ask you, is there anything that you miss in Toronto that Redbourn can't provide? Obviously Redbourn can give lots of things to people, but is there anything you miss about Toronto?
Well, my parents, my brother. But, if you asked me about 5 years ago, I would have probably had a longer list. But since we've been settled, this is home, the UK, Redbourne's home. I visit Canada every so often to visit my family, to keep up with my Canadian roots. But after a while, I miss home. I want to come back. I know you're into hockey, Simon, but I never really got into hockey much. I was more of a basketball guy, so I do miss the Canadian basketball. I do try to watch a bit of NBA here. Toronto had a really good season last year. They won the championship, so good for the city there. But yes, no, it's just my family. I miss them. I speak to my parents on a daily basis, and I wish I could see them more often.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll be able to get out there before too long then, Karan. Let's hope you can. And I'm hoping to get out there and see my sister too before too long. So, on to the lockdown then. Obviously, it's affected everybody. First of all, how has it affected you sort of individually and as a business with the fact that obviously having to close the shop and so on? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, individually, quite honestly, we're in no different situation than anyone else. The one thing we know about this pandemic and lockdown is that it doesn't distinguish or differentiate between people. So we're in this together as a community. I think what we decided quite early on as a household, my wife and I, is that it's a really good time with all this extra time we have to reflect on each other, on our on what's been going on. We've been concentrating on catching up with stuff like physical exercise, household DIY projects. We tried to learn a few new skills. My wife's now the primary cook in the house, which I'm so relieved for. We've also been spending time with each other, time that we take for granted with each other, with the dog. So that's been a real positive, I think, from all of this. And from a business and employment standpoint, yes, things have been much different. I think the hardest thing for us on a daily basis from a business standpoint is not seeing the wonderful people that we worked with. We have a fantastic team at our practice, and over the course of time, we've become a small family. But unfortunately, as per the NHS's request, we've had to suspend routine eye examination since the lockdown. So what we're only doing at the moment is offering urgent and emergency care, which my wife and I are handling on our own. So that, from a business standpoint, has been a bit of a bummer.